Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here a very wonderful verse about the great qualities of Prahlad Maharaj. Explains about the great exalted position, the Mahabhagavata position which Prahlad Maharaj had attained. Prahlad Maharaj, even though he was just 5-year-old, but he became a Mahajana. So it doesn't matter what age one is. So the exalted position of Prahlad Maharaj is very beautifully explained. Antar bahis chamalam abjanetram. That Prahlad Maharaj, he was not only seeing the Supreme Lord constantly within his heart, he was so matured in devotional service, the Lord appeared to him externally also. In the very same body, the Lord appeared to him face to face. It's like I am seeing you face to face. Prahlad Maharaj not only was constantly seeing the Lord inside, he saw the Lord face to face. The Lord appeared outside. Antar bahis chamalam abjanetram. Another important quality of Prahlad Maharaj is Swapurusha Ichha Anugrahita Rupam. Ichha Anugrahita Rupam. The form desired by Prahlad Maharaj, the Lord appeared in that very self form, as Prahlad Maharaj had desired. The Lord appeared in that form. But of course, in the purport, Prabhupada explains some very important meaning of seeing the Lord in the desired form. One should not think the pure devotee of the Lord, he imagines a form. Let us say, for example, if we imagine a form, something, the Lord is having some tusk or the Lord is having something, and we imagine and we become attached to this imaginary form, and then we are thinking the Lord will appear in that form. No, that is not the idea. One should not think. The idea is that the Lord has many multifarious forms eternally present. This also has to be understood very properly. And the pure devotee becomes attached to one of those forms, because the pure devotee of the Lord, he has information about all these forms. Just like we see the great Goswami, Jayadev Goswami wrote about that Dashavatara Stotra. So he is describing many of the forms of the Lord. He is describing the 10 different forms of the Lord. So the pure devotee is aware of the different forms of the Lord, and according to his constitutional position, the devotee becomes attached to one of those forms of the Lord. And the Lord, being pleased with the devotee, appears in the form desired by his pure devotee. So what do we understand? The devotee does not desire some imaginary form of the Lord. The devotee knows the eternal forms of the Lord, becomes attached to one of those forms of the Lord, and as he desires, the Lord appears in that form. So the form of Narsimha is not some imaginary form imagined by Prahlad Maharaj when the Lord appeared before Prahlad Maharaj. So this is very important, another important point which Prabhupada is telling in the purport. Another very important point which we will understand in this purport, Prabhupada is explaining, the devotee also does not think that the Lord is actually impersonal, and according to the desire of the devotee, he takes a form. Factually, he is impersonal, and because to please the devotee wants to see the Lord in certain form, the Lord takes a form just to please his devotee. Devotee does not think like this. The Lord eternally has these various forms. Ayodhya Dham is eternally existing in the spiritual world. Vaikuntha is eternally existing in the spiritual world. Golok Vrindavan, where the Lord is present in his original Shyam Sundar form, is eternally existing in the spiritual world. So devotee does not have to imagine something. So this is another the great acharyas, they point out these very important things for us to understand. This is the meaning of great acharyas. Prabhupada gives the example, just like Paramahamsa. What does it mean? The Paramahamsa is like that swan. He can take out water and he can take out milk separately. Even though water and milk may be mixed together. Just like a Hamsa can separate water and milk, the Paramahamsa can clearly differentiate between what is material aspect and what is spiritual aspect. So, pure devotee does not think the Lord takes a form for me. This is what impersonalist understanding is. They think for bhajana, because we are embodied now, we require a form. So one can imagine any form. That is what they say. Yatomat tatopat. Whatever form you imagine doesn't matter. You can take anything as your Ishta Devata. Of course, they also prescribe better to think of 5 forms. But in that 5 form, they also give the form of Devatas. So according to them, they are thinking you can think of the form of Ganapati and still you can attain Krishna. This is their misunderstanding. So what is their idea? Their idea is, now we are embodied, now let us think of a form, and once you have come to the level of Brahman, then no more form. You don't require any form. So this is their misunderstanding. So devotee does not have that misunderstanding. Devotee is not thinking that the Lord will appear according to the imagination of this impersonalist. This impersonalist has imagined one form and he is worshipping that imagined form, and the Lord will appear in that imagined form. No, devotee does not have this understanding. Understanding of the devotee is the Lord has eternal forms, and if we become attached to one of those forms, the Lord will appear in that desired form. That is the idea. So here, when it is said, Swapurusha Ichha Anugrahita Rupam, it should not be misunderstood. That is another very important thing Prabhupada is saying. Then Prabhupada also points out Why the Lord does not appear to these impersonalists in that form of their imaginary form? Because unfortunately, they are still in material conception of life. They have no idea of the eternal forms of the Lord. And because they offend the Lord, so the Lord does not appear to these impersonalists. But Prabhupada says, whenever a devotee sees the Lord, the devotee sees the Lord beautifully decorated. How does he see? That is also explained here. Pautrastava Shrilalana Lalamam. He will be able to see the Lord with goddess of fortune, Shri Lalama. Shri Lalama means beautifully decorated Mother Lakshmi. So, Prabhupada says, whenever a devotee sees the Lord, he sees him in most beautifully decorated form. Drishta Sfurat Kundala Manditananam. The face of the Lord is beautifully decorated with kundala, with beautiful earrings. So, a devotee sees the Lord, beautifully decorated form of the Lord, and accompanied with constant companion, Mother Lakshmi. That's how the devotees always worship Radha Krishna. The devotees always worship Sita Ram, Lakshmi Narayana. The Lord is always accompanied with his constant companion, Mother Lakshmi. That is how the devotee of the Lord sees the vision of the Lord. So these are some of the very important things which are mentioned by Prabhupada in the purport. Now, when Prahlad Maharaj is seeing the Lord, when it is said here, not only he will see inside, he will also see externally the form of the Lord. How does it make a difference? One may wonder. Seeing the Lord inside, seeing the Lord outside, what is the difference? What difference does it make? Anyone? Raghuttam? How do we understand? Seeing the Lord inside, Prabhupada is saying here, it is predicted herewith, the grandson of Diti, Prahlad Maharaj, would not only see the personality of Godhead within himself by meditation, but would also be able to see him personally with his eyes. This direct vision is possible only for one who is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness. For the Lord is not possible to see with material eyes. Devotees? Huh? Okay, very good. One very important point. So this is very important point. That actually, if a devotee becomes, even if a yogi becomes advanced from Brahman realization, if the impersonalist advances and becomes a yogi, a great yogi, it is possible to see the Lord inside the heart constantly in samadhi. Actually, yogi's perfection comes when he is able to see Paramatma in the heart constantly. That is the perfection of Ashtanga Yoga. But this is not enough, because according to Bhagavatam, this is a partial realization of the Lord. Why it is partial? Because scientific realization of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, is still lacking. He has known or realized Paramatma feature in the heart, but that is only in Shantarasa. He sees the Lord constantly in the heart, but he is not able to render devotional service actively in the different kinds of rasas like Dasya rasa, Sakhya rasa, which a devotee actively renders service to the Lord. So this is the difference. So only a pure, matured devotee like Prahlad, they are able to see the Lord face to face and render devotional service unto the Lord. Not passively, actively. Yogis are able to render Shantarasa passively, not even actively. There is Shantarasa even in devotional service, just like we find great devotees becoming some, grass in Vrindavan. That is in Shantarasa. But that is still actively the devotee is involved in the service of the Lord. But the yogis passively serve the Lord in Shantarasa when they visualize, when they realize the presence of Paramatma in their heart. So this is the difference. There is a very beautiful explanation of this given in the next chapter. We will find this. In the next chapter, it will be explained about history of Hiranyakashipu. How these pregnancy of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, how they were born actually, who were they earlier. So in that regard, the example of 4 Kumaras is very beautifully explained. The 4 Kumaras, we know that they were great yogis. They were son of Brahmaji, the first son of Brahmaji, oldest of all other living entities. All other sons were born later on. But by their yogic power, they maintained always just like small child. Their body was almost like just 5-year boys. So just like a 5-year old boy, they were, they are not bothered about dressing. So they were all roaming naked because they were Brahman realized. They had no conception of bodily conception of life. But somehow they were attracted to Vaikuntha Loka by smelling the tulsi aroma coming from Vaikuntha Loka. So they were very inclined and they were interested and they proceeded towards Vaikuntha Loka. So they passed through the 6 different gates of Vaikuntha Loka, and when they reached the 7th gate, there Jaya and Vijaya, the doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, they were standing there. So they became little disturbed that who are these boys coming naked inside the Vaikuntha Loka, and they have already crossed over 6 gates, isn't it? And now they are trying to enter inside the Vaikuntha Loka. So they became little disturbed in their mind and they wanted to obstruct these 4 Kumaras with their staff. So they obstructed that you are not allowed inside like this. So the 4 Kumaras, they became agitated, they became angry. Prabhupada explains actually they were just like child. Child, if they are not allowed to meet their mother, child becomes very angry. Isn't it? So similarly the 4 Kumaras also, they were like childish, and in their childishness they became angry on the doorkeepers. Another important aspect Prabhupada explains, Brahman realization does not mean that you become free from emotions. It is not true that once you are free from material conception of life, anger will not be there. The Lord also becomes angry, isn't it? We find Narada Muni also became angry on Manigriva and Nalakuvera, right? So, Prabhupada explains that anger is purified. It has a purpose. So, when the 4 Kumaras sensed that actually there is duality in the mind of Jaya and Vijaya, they understood they don't deserve to be in Vaikuntha because there is some contamination in them. So better they should go to the world of duality. Vaikuntha means freedom from duality. So they seem to be having duality in their mind. so they should be punished. So that was the idea of the 4 Kumaras. So in that context, it is explained when the Lord realized this, that my servants are now going to be cursed by the 4 Kumaras, and that how these 4 Kumaras are actually offended. The Lord personally with Mother Lakshmi came to Vaikuntha Dwara to see his devotees, to give audience to the 4 Kumaras. So there it is explained, in that verse it is explained very beautifully. In the purport, Prabhupada explains some very wonderful concepts. So it is worth understanding. There, Prabhupada explains that for a matured yogi, it is possible to see the Lord within his heart. 4 Kumaras were Brahman realized, and they were already out of material conception. And then Prabhupada explains for a yogi, perfect yogi, he can see the Lord within his heart. But to see the Lord outside, like now the Kumaras are seeing the Lord, they were completely astounded to see the wonderful form of the Lord. And they were, Prabhupada very beautiful explains with the word which is given in Bhagavatam, Sanskrit words. So Prabhupada says, in this verse, Achakshata Aksha Vishayam. This word explains the Lord cannot be seen by ordinary eyes. Achakshat Aksha Vishayam means the Lord, it is not possible to see the Lord with ordinary eyes. And here we are seeing the 4 Kumaras with ordinary eyes, they were able to see the Lord. You see? Otherwise the Lord, it is not possible to be seen with ordinary eyes. But now he became visible to the eyesight of Kumaras. And another significant word which is used is, so 2 words are used. One is, even though Kumaras had not till now become a great devotee of the Lord in that sense, but mercifully the Lord came before the 4 Kumaras, and they were able to see with their material eyes, they were able to see the form of the Lord. So another significant word is Samadhi Bhagyam. Why that is used, Samadhi Bhagyam? Samadhi Bhagyam means if someone is fortunate, Bhagyam means if someone is fortunate, Bhagyam, then in his Samadhi he can constantly see the Lord inside. That is described for a yogi. So for a yogi, if he is fortunate, he can have the vision of the Lord inside his heart. But here we find the Kumaras were more fortunate than even the yogis, that now they are able to see the Lord present directly before their eyes. So Prabhupada is saying, meditators who are very fortunate can see the Vishnu form of the Lord within their heart by following the yogic process. But to see him face to face is different matter. See, this is very important. So yogis seeing the Lord inside the heart and devotees seeing the Lord inside the heart is also different. That also we will see. Devotees seeing the Lord inside the heart, yogis seeing the Lord inside the heart, and devotees seeing the Lord outside the heart, face to face. Prabhupada is saying it is different. This is possible, only possible for pure devotees. This is only possible for pure devotees. So actually, the Lord gave that status to the 4 Kumaras, that now they were able to see the Lord face to face and appreciate the personality of Godhead. Otherwise, with ordinary vision, it is not possible to see the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying, the Kumaras therefore, upon seeing the Lord coming forward with his associates who were holding an umbrella and a chamara fan, were struck with wonder that they were seeing the Lord face to face. They were thinking about their fortune. What great fortune we have got, isn't it? Ordinary people cannot see the Lord. Achakshata aksha vishayam. It's not possible. And then samadhi bhagyam. Even the meditators, they can see the Lord only within their heart. They cannot see the Lord face to face. But what is our good fortune? The Lord is walking, coming with his associate, devotees are fanning him, somebody is holding an umbrella over him. What is our great fortune? We are able to see the Lord face to face like this. So they were thinking like that. So Prabhupada explains further that actually even when a devotee sees the Lord with prema in his heart constantly, and when the devotee is able to see the Lord in everything, that is also explained in Bhagavatam. It is said that the pure devotee of the Lord, sthavara jangama dekhi, na dekhi tara murti. When a pure devotee sees even material things, he sees the Lord. Na dekhi tara murti. He is not seeing, just like when a pure devotee is seeing the table, he is not seeing the table. In what sense? That also we should try to understand. You see, pure devotee's vision, it becomes completely changed after realization. So that also we will come to the point. Further, Prabhupada explains, pure devotee of the Lord, premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Correct? That is for the devotee. The pure devotee of the Lord, being constantly engaged in the service of the Lord, can constantly see the Lord within his heart. But Prabhupada says, when the same devotee becomes more matured in his devotional service, the same Lord from within the heart appears outside. So it's a further matured devotee. That is what Prabhupada says. So further Prabhupada is saying, it is said in Brahma Samhita, the devotees being elevated in love of God always sees Shyama Sundara, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their hearts. But when they are mature, the same God is visible before them face to face. For ordinary person, Lord is not visible. However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name and one engages in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue by chanting and tasting prasadam, then gradually the Lord reveals himself. So this is a gradual revelation of the Lord. Gradually, first the devotee is just chanting the name of the Lord. He does not even understand the name of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. He does not understand. He does not understand the name of the Lord and the form of the Lord are also non-different. So in the beginning, he does not understand. But by just beginning the service of the Lord, starting with the tongue, the devotee, the Lord gradually reveals to the devotee. You see? So, thus the devotee constantly sees the Lord within his heart. And in more mature stage, one can see the same Lord directly as we see everything else. So that means the devotee is maturing. In some mature stage, he will be able to see constantly the presence of the Lord in his heart. And when he becomes more matured, the same Lord appears directly before him. That is a more mature stage. So even in devotional service, we can see that there are different levels. A more mature devotee can see the Lord face to face. Even though there is no difference, seeing the Lord within and seeing the Lord face to face, there is no such difference like that. But that is a more further matured stage, Prabhupada explains. Another important point which Prabhupada explains is that why these devotees are considered to be more mature. Because even with the same self-body, the same self-body becomes spiritualized. Generally, we all know, we all understand. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanam na iti. Correct? What does it mean? When one has attained perfection, what happens? Tyaktva deham. We have to give up this body. And then we attain Krishna. Right? That is what we see. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanam na iti. So we have to give up this body. In another purport, Prabhupada explains this phenomenon from Vedas, from Upanishads. From Shruti, Prabhupada explains. Because somebody may say, okay, this is given in Bhagavad Gita, which is part of Mahabharata. So Prabhupada explains from Shruti also. There it says, this is in one of purports, Sava esha brahmanishtha idam shariram martyam. It says, Sava eva brahmanishtha. When one has become fixed in Brahman, brahmanishtha, idam shariram martyam. After mrityu of this sharira, after giving up this body, there also it clearly mentions, after giving up this body, atishrajya brahma bhi sampadya brahmana pashyanti brahmana shrunoti brahmaneva sarvam anubhavanti. After giving up this body, then it says brahmana pashyanti, then he sees Brahman face to face. Brahmana shrunoti, then he can hear that Supreme Brahman, he can hear him. Brahmaneva sarvam anubhavanti. Prabhupada translates. It is stated here, when a living entity gives up the material embodiment and enter into the spiritual world, he revives his spiritual body, and in his spiritual body, he can see the Supreme Personality face to face. He can hear and speak to him face to face, and he can understand the Supreme Personality as he is. So actually that is a general process. But sometimes when the Lord is very merciful to his devotee, he doesn't even have to give up his material body. The same material body becomes spiritualized. With the very same body, the devotee is able to have the vision of the Lord. Prabhupada says it is just like iron constantly in touch with fire becomes fire. It is non-different from fire. Similarly, if we can utilize this material body constantly in the service of the Lord, then it is not required that at the point of death we will become mukta. Rupa Goswami explains, Nikhilashu avasthashu jivan mukta sa uchyate. Such a person, even while living in the material body, is jivan mukta. Why is jivan mukta? No more material contamination is there in his material body. The body is not affected anymore by three modes of material nature. It acts spiritually. He is called Jivan Mukta. And that is the understanding of maturity in devotional service. Prahlad Maharaj is able to see, Prabhupada explains. In another beautiful purport, Prabhupada explains this. Narad Muni, for Narad Muni, when he is explaining his life, when he was the son of a maid servant, he was not able to get perfection in that life. Narad Muni explains that. He tried a lot. And then the Lord, seeing his eagerness, the Lord gave him darshan. And then once again, Narad Muni tried hard, but he was not able to see the Lord. And then he became very anxious to see the form of the Lord, which he was able to see. Then the Lord gave him audience. The Lord said, my dear Narada, just to increase your anxiety, I gave you my darshan. Actually, if you are not purified, It is not possible to see my form. But I gave you darshan as a special mercy on you, so that your desire to attain me will increase. You see? But still you have to become more purified. And then Narada explains this, that once he attained perfection, he gave up his body made up of Panchabhuta, but that happens simultaneously. That Narad Muni explains. He says it is just like the lightning. It's just like the lightning. In the lightning you will find the sound and everything comes immediately, right? That is the meaning of lightning. So he explains, just like lightning, I gave up my Panchabhuta body and I attained spiritual body. You see? In that context, Prabhupada explains that if the devotee becomes, even in his very life, if he becomes Jivan Mukta, he can see the Lord face to face without even giving up his body. I'll just read that small portion Prabhupada explains. A devotee's body becomes at once surcharged with transcendental qualities as soon as he is engaged in devotional service of the Lord. Another 5 minutes we will close. Devotee's body becomes at once surcharged with the transcendental qualities as soon as he is engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. It acts like magnetic influence of a touchstone upon iron. The influence of transcendental devotional service is like that. Therefore, change of body means stoppage of reaction of three qualitative modes of material nature upon the pure devotee. Actually, when a devotee, when his body has become completely spiritualized, means what? Actually his body has changed, because without getting spiritual body, no one can see the Lord. So that means what? Their body has become changed. Prabhupada is explaining how their body has become changed. Prabhupada says, if it was material body, then three modes should have influence. Correct? That is the meaning of material body. Now three modes of material nature has no more influence on pure devotee of the Lord. That means his body has become actually changed. And then Prabhupada is saying, there are many instances of this in revealed scripture. Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, many other devotees who are able to see personality of Godhead face to face, apparently in the same body. They were able to see the Lord face to face, apparently in the same body. They did not have to give up their body, in the same body, because once engaged in the service of the Lord, the body has become spiritualized. So Prabhupada is saying, this means quality of devotee's body changes from material to transcendence. In Brahma Samhita it is said, beginning from Indra Gopa to Indra, all living beings are subjected to law of karma. Correct? But what does it say? Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. When a devotee is performing devotional service, his karmas are burned to ash by the mercy of the Lord. So no more those influence of karma is there, no more influence of three modes of material nature is there. Quality of the body has changed from material to spiritual. That is how they are able to see the Lord face to face. And as we saw, Prabhupada explained, this is possible. Prabhupada says, how this is possible to attain this mature stage, when one will be able to see the Lord face to face. Prabhupada says, what is that famous verse? Sevon mukhehi jivahado swayam evhi spurti adah atha Shri Krishna naam adi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi sevon mukhehi jivahado. The seva has to begin. At this moment we cannot appreciate even the name, the form, the leela, none of these things we are able to appreciate. But if we start serving the Lord beginning with chanting, and then Prabhupada says, if you remember in that what I read, Prabhupada is saying, However, when one can understand the significance of his holy name and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with the tongue by chanting and tasting prasadam, then gradually the Lord reveals himself. See, this is very important. So, most important aspect, if we want to see, like Prahlad Maharaj, if we want to see the Lord face to face, the beginning is with chanting the holy name of the Lord. But as we have been seeing that actually this chanting has to be done, the process of devotional service, the process has to be followed properly. Very beautiful example Prabhupada gives. If you don't follow the process, don't expect the results. Don't say, Prabhu, I have been chanting 20 years, the results are not coming. Prabhupada says, this is like, he gives the example that once there was one king, and he had made one announcement that anyone who can stay in this cold water in the night, I will be able to give him good amount of gold coins. He wanted them to perform that austerity. So one man, one Brahmana, he was very poor, he thought it is a good opportunity, let me take this opportunity. So he went, whole night he was, in that cold water, and he was, with severe cold, somehow he tolerated. And next day, when the king saw this, he was very happy and he wanted to give him gold coins. But then some minister objected. He said, what is this? First let us find out whether actually he tolerated. So then he asked that Brahman, how was it possible? So he said there was one lamp burning very far away, and just by seeing that lamp, I was able to stand in this cold. So then the minister said, see, this is the reason. He was able to get that heat and light from that lamp, and that is how it was possible. But then another wise minister was there. So he understood this is foolishness. If the emperor is thinking that he was able to get heat and light from that, and because of that he was able to tolerate, it is foolishness. So he said, I must give justice to this Brahmana. So then, on the pretext of being sick and cooking khichdi, the minister, this wise minister, he was absent from the court for 2-3 days. And then whenever the minister, that emperor would send for a word, he would give back the message that he is still cooking his khichdi. The emperor became very, very, angry. What is this? 3 days are over, his khichdi is still not cooked. Isn't it? So he sent his people to see what kind of khichdi is cooking. So then he saw that what kind of khichdi is cooking was, he has placed pot of rice at such a height, and the fire is on the ground, and at least 10-20 feet away he has placed one pot of rice with khichdi, thinking that I will be able to cook my. So he said, your lifetime will pass, you will not be able to cook khichdi. So similarly then the minister said, Maharaj, similarly I wanted to say, if it is not possible for this pot of rice to get heat and light from 10 feet, what do you think from 20 feet, so many feet, the Brahmana was able to get warmth of that light, and that is why he tolerated. But Prabhupada makes another important point from this. Prabhupada says, if you don't follow the proper process of cooking khichdi, and if you follow like this, whole lifetime you will cook also, you will not be able to get khichdi. Similarly, if chanting we are doing mechanically, the most important part of chanting is attentiveness. If we are not chanting with attention, then whole lifetime also we keep on chanting, we will not get the desired result. So, even though chanting is important, mechanical chanting, or it will take very prolonged time, it will take many, many lifetimes to finish our devotional service. So, we have to attentively chant. And how attention is possible, Madhu Pandit Prabhu was saying in one of his class, attention is possible when there is a taste. Actually, it is very important to understand this. Very important. If there is taste, then it's very easy. If there is no taste, it is very difficult. Imagine, suppose you are sitting in some topics, this discussion is going on, you have no taste for that at all. Your mind will never go for that topic at all. What they are talking, mind will never enter into. The moment something is spoken which you have a taste for, immediately your attention will go there. So attention is possible if you have a taste. So this ruchi is what we have to develop. This is very, very important. And that is possible, Prabhupada says, by serving the mission of the Lord sincerely. It is possible. When we serve the mission of the Lord sincerely, we will develop that taste, we will develop that ruchi by their grace. It will be possible. But that endeavor from our side is very, very important. So then at a mature stage, it will be possible. Gradually we will be able to see the Lord face to face, as Prabhupada is explaining in today's purport. We will stop with this. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.